Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. Welcome to episode 69 of Everything Teams Phone Live.
Whoop.
We've got an amazing guest today. I'm super excited. I'm very, very excited, Bailey and Brandon. We met Miguel in Denver, but I'm super excited to introduce him in a little while. Not yet, Miguel, not yet.
Here's how I know you were excited. Not just because it's episode 69 with Miguel, but for our viewers who can't see the the green room below us, I was watching Rick dance during our intro. So I keep bringing it up. It's such a catchy intro. And yeah, Rick's all excited. He was down there, bouncing his shoulders around.
I do. I get it. It's got a good little, I actually jumped the gun there for a second, not to use a bad term in terms of gun, but I was like, I did my whole little intro thing, like while it was going, and I'm like, oh, I hear the music. And I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good. So no, the intro is still cool. We think it's great. Marketing team is doing an amazing job. Okay, Bailey, I know you got some housekeeping to do. We're going to kick this episode off and get rolling, but what do you have for us today, Bailey?
Yeah, you guys know the drill. This podcast is sponsored by Momentum, where we elevate your business with Microsoft Teams for a seamless company-wide collaboration. Right?
Okay.
Nice.
All right.
There you go.
That's
Bailey.
simple. Thanks, Bailey. Brandon, man, it's been like 4 hours since I've talked to you. Like, I don't know, we have not been communicating lately today. And, communication is key to an important relationship, Brandon. And
I'm feeling a little neglected. We talked last night. I think the green room is the first time we've talked today. So shame on you. Or maybe
busy schedules. Anyway, we have an amazing guest today, everyone. We first met Miguel in Denver at Comms V Next, and we met him, and he was we were on a bus together, headed to a beautiful dinner spot where we kind of hung out and engaged with just all Microsoft type stuff, and it was a really nice dinner, and Miguel was sitting across from me, and I was standing up at the entry of the bus there. He's sitting over there. And he told me he was from Miami and talked a little bit about what he does. And then I've followed you, Miguel, on LinkedIn for a long time. And then you did a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, you did the fireside chat with Tom Arbuthnot. And you were just full of it. And full disclosure, I didn't watch it live. I went through and I watched a few of the highlights there. But lots and lots of great information. And we thought, man, it would be great to get you on the show and talk about what we're seeing, what you're seeing out in the marketplace, and just have a discussion about what we love to talk about, which is Microsoft Teams. So Miguel Corteguera, welcome to Everything Teams Phone Live. Thanks for coming.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick and Brandon. Pleasure to be here and an honor.
Welcome to the show. Yeah, I think this lineup today's lineup is pretty exciting, right, Rick? I think we got a lot to talk about, right? Everything from maybe some Teams adoption for businesses, maybe what the Teams premium adoption looks like, and what the premium brings to the table versus just kind of the standard Teams play. Maybe some deployment recommendations, best practice tips and guides, and maybe even a sneak peek at the Qs app.
Not even we're going to do the Qs app. We confirmed it with Miguel. Here's the thing. Last week we had Chris Goodwill, right, from Symmetry on. Did I say that right? Symmetry. Anyway, we had Chris on, and we were talking about the Dynamics 365 Contact Center, and so we were kind of exposed to the big contact center and all the different components and all the different chatbots and like the big heavy contact center solution. And what I think is cool about that is it's in direct competition to, if you will, the bigger contact center solutions out in the marketplace, except it's all Microsoft, which is amazing. It's all tied into the solution that you'd like to have as your corporate sort of operating system, I would think. Now, Miguel's going to show us the Qs app. Now, the Qs app has been, we won't talk dates or anything like that, but it was slated for this month. I think it's been pushed a little bit for GA. But it's a really interesting concept because oftentimes when you talk to customers in that mid-market particularly, right? In that mid-market space, you talk to customers that don't need the big contact center, right? They've got a need for some sort of, contact center solution, maybe some statistics, some observing, some listening to your agents and things like that. And And I really want to dive right into that because that's a really cool app that I'd like to. Miguel, I know you're close to it. Miguel, what do you have for us in the Q's app, Miguel?
All right. Hey, everyone. So, Miguel Corteguera, and I'm within Microsoft. I'm in our customer success organization, and then within that, I'm in a place called Modern Work that has all of Microsoft 365 and all of that good stuff. And within that, we have a small tech strategy team, which is where I'm a part of. And it's a small group, 7 of us, but we're a global team. And essentially, we support our field force of customer success account managers, customer success architects that support our customers. And what we do is they essentially, there's 2 motions, right? One is they come to us when they need help, like the bat signal, like, hey, I'm stuck here.
Right.
Please come and help us out. It could be a feature, it could be guidance. And then the other piece that we do is more of a proactive nature. So we start to see trends in the marketplace or challenges across different geographies. And we go out proactively and try to address that because we know if there's a fire here and there, it's probably in a couple different places.
So let me get this straight really quick. This is totally off the topic of teams, but you just mentioned 7 people on your team globally for Microsoft doing this specific thing. I just Googled this, and I'm sure these numbers aren't entirely accurate, but 220-ish thousand employees at Microsoft, and there's 7 of you trying to represent this particular silo. That must be busy.
Yeah, we're kept pretty busy,
but
we have to
Brandon,
prioritize things.
But Brandon, I would say that he's only tapped when someone needs genius level things, right? So I used to have a T-shirt. Miguel used to say "Telecom Genius" is what I used to say. I'm gonna send you one of those, Miguel, Telecom Genius T-shirt.
But we all know that once your name is out there and you are the genius, everyone's tapping your shoulder, right? They're like, we're not going to play this follow process stuff. So anyway, I thought that just interesting. 7 people out of 220,000 ish employees. That's pretty impressive.
Well, here a glance at your LinkedIn profile, Miguel, and it says you deal with the top tier sort of customers of Microsoft. So if you go, if that's 50,000 users and above, something like that, do you have what does that look like for Microsoft? Is it a user count? Is it a revenue thing?
Generally, it's the large enterprise accounts as Microsoft has them in that category. Sometimes we do get it involved in smaller accounts and specialized opportunities and things like that, especially in some of the more proactive outreaches where we're doing like incubation of a certain product. We do work very closely with the product team. So all that technical feedback, we work back with them to make sure that's get filtered back to the product managers and they engage. So
how cool is that? I like just what you said. That's pretty cool because you're taking real-time data from the field, and you've got an actual feedback loop that brings it back right to product to go, okay, this is working, this is not working. We need to add this. We need to change this to be able to increase our adoption. That's a pretty interesting spot to be in. Because you feel like if you're part of that the spearhead of that feedback loop, right? This is a lot of the stuff that you're driving from a change perspective to adopt. That's pretty exciting. Speaking of adoption, what does it look like? Quick question. I mean, we do Teams Phone all day long. This is the whole podcast on Teams Phone, typically stuff. What do you guys see when a large organization is and it's a broad question, Miguel. You can go in 1,000 different directions, but why do large organizations take down Microsoft Teams Phone? What's the big driver that you see in the space in the large enterprise space?
Yeah, I think the biggest attraction that I've seen, and I've been in the industry a long time, going back to Cisco and Avaya, previous generations. The biggest attraction I've seen is the ease of use, and that goes for both the admin side as well as the user side. So, think of deploying a PBX or a communication system. In the old days, it was this whole separate thing, and then it had its own separate directory, and you had to worry about like authentication and getting clients out there and different clients for different devices. The beauty of Teams is many customers already have it deployed for chat or maybe sometimes for meetings. And all you're doing is adding a little workload on top of it. Same client, same infrastructure, same directory, same system for compliance and policies. You just add the little pieces that you need for phone, and then that little icon shows up on the users on the left hand rail along with their calendar and their chats. And now they have their phone, and guess what? They have it on their mobile too. There's no other client to deploy, no instructions. It's very intuitive, uses the same color, same the same workflows to get things done. So that's the other piece of it is that user piece of it, where you can deploy it and they have a great experience without living in another world.
Well, yeah, if you go back a few years to deploying physical devices, whether it's Cisco or Avaya or any of the sort of the big box brands, or even cloud PBX services, from like I say a Ring or an 8 or somebody like that, it's a whole thing when you're deploying. Like it's a whole thing, right? You've got to train everybody. You put documentation out so people understand how to use it. You do, rooms and rooms of training for classroom, for these people to kind of get the initial adoption out. You send devices out and say, hey, start using it before we move your phones over, because that day is going to hit where we're going to move the numbers over. And what a big difference in the way that we deploy now if we deploy Microsoft Teams, because that's pretty much all we're deploying. And you look at that and you go, you just activated the service. You activate the service. You even do the shared calling piece to kind of start the drip of calls and let people use calling to just kind of get them started.
Yep.
Everything is the same. There's not this. Now we put content out and training's a big thing and all that good stuff still, but it's so, just like you said, it's so intuitive. It's so easy to take your calls. It's so easy to put a call on hold, even to transfer a call, those sorts of things. It's all like really intuitive. And the rollout is not really a rollout. The rollout is it's an enablement, right? You've enabled them now, and now you're done. When a phone system change used to be a really massive deal, it just doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal with Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of great content out there. I'll put a few links in the chat for everyone, but there's great adoption content on the base Teams, on Teams Phone itself, and then on Teams Premium, if you have that functionality as well. So there's 3 different adoption portals out there that have a lot of those videos and guidance and user guides that you can customize. And then for the admin side, there's videos for some of those as well. But there's also deployment guides and deployment kits that you can follow that gives you an idea of different personas to configure services for different time schedules, that things you should keep in mind of activities and things to do. So there's a lot of really great guidance out there that you as a customer or as a partner doing this can take advantage of.
Nice.
I'm gonna ask a question around adoption. So earlier, Miguel, you had mentioned that most companies are already using Teams. So, from your perspective or experience, are there times where you work with customers where they're not already on Microsoft Teams, and there's maybe common questions they ask about, the adoption strategy? Tips or any kind of advice that you give them, or is it really just these links that you're going to share that, hey, go check these out and kind of make yourself familiar with it? What's your strategy with that?
Yeah, it varies quite a bit. We do get some that are like fresh to Microsoft, I would say, right? That are coming in from another whole different environment, including the collaboration piece and the document like spreadsheets and all that good stuff. Although the majority that I've worked with in my team have been using Teams already for like chat and collaboration, sometimes even for chat collaboration and meetings, and they're just adding phone on top of that. So it kind of varies around those three. The biggest thing I would say from a tips and strategy perspective is just like before, right? Planning is key before you start, configuring things, especially before you deploy things to your end users. Just make sure you get comfortable with it. You have a plan. You do some proof of concept so that you're familiar with it. And a lot of this stuff is outlined in the deployment guides that we have out there.
Oh, that's nice. And you're going to provide those links, yeah, Miguel, for the
Yep.
deployment how-to guide. That's exciting. Okay, we'll put that in the chat.
And Rick, I think we had the opportunity, more you than me, because I was remote. You had the opportunity. You got introduced to I'll call it a company or an enterprise that came to one of our events that we were showing what Teams Phone could do, and they were actually one of the more vocal ones, right? While you're out presenting, and they finally admitted that they aren't actually a Microsoft shop. So I found that pretty interesting that they showed up. Speaking of adoption, it makes you wonder: is this company really, curious and wanting to explore the Teams environment and the Microsoft ecosystem, or what do you suppose that was about, Rick?
I don't know. I do. It is interesting because it's not very often that I actually encounter a company, and I say this to all of our sort of partners and stuff like that. I say basically everyone is a Teams shop, and they actually know they want to go to Microsoft Teams Phone. I talk to customers and prospective clients of ours, and they go, "Yeah, we just really need to know how to get there," because they're not really they don't understand how to get there and what it takes to get there. And is direct routing, is it Operator Connect, is it Teams Phone Mobile? It's all these different components, right? It's so flexible what you can deploy and what you can use from a carrier perspective. So I often think that everyone, it's our job to basically go, here's how easy it is to get you set up. That's kind of our job, I think, right? But when I hear a customer go, yeah, we don't even use we're a G shop, and I'm not going to say the word, and I go, huh? Then you're like, what are you doing here? And it works great. This works great. This works great. I'm like, what about this? What about that? What about this? At the end of it, are you ready for this? At the end of that discussion, and Brandon, I don't know if you had left that the discussion at that point.
I think I'd left.
So at the end of it, he goes, well, actually, we're talking to the Dynamics group about this, and we're talking to the Dynamics group about that, and we're doing this and that. I'm like, oh, so you're that kind of shop now, but you're in the middle of coming over as that. So you fit the mold of, it's pretty much what I thought. It's like, people know they want to get there. There's, when we talk to customers, security is a big thing. And particularly these larger customers, Miguel, when we're talking to our larger customers, it's a lot of work just to get to the discussion part about not even deployment, but the discussion piece of it, right? To get to the nuts and bolts of what they're looking for and how they want to deploy and what they see as their problems and things. And so because of the secure nature of Microsoft Teams, it's nice because we see these customers coming to us and coming over from other platforms. I never see a customer going the other way. So I feel like positioned wise, we're, everyone who supports Microsoft Teams is in such a great spot to go drive, new customers for themselves and go drive new opportunities for themselves, and then be part of helping the customer in a big way. Let's do this. I want to talk about something really specific, Miguel, because you have intimate knowledge with the Qs app. We're interested in, and I know you've got a kind of a deck that you could show that's got some Qs app information there. I thought maybe it'd be nice for you to go over some of the Qs app features that people can expect to see when that goes GA. Is that something that you could show us?
Yep, I can do that. If I want to share my screen here, I actually have a click-through app, which is it's like a click-through demo.
Oh, okay.
That'll show us both the agent and supervisor view. And there are actually some things in here that'll be post GA, so it'll give you a sneak peek at what's coming in October, which is the planned GA date now that's on the public roadmap, and then there'll be some things that we're working on and planned for after. Sound good?
Oh, that's exciting. Let's do it. I don't even think I've seen this. I'm not in the private preview, so I haven't really seen that. That's why I'm excited to see what it looks like.
Cool. So here's what I would get as an agent logging into the Q's app. So it's called the Q's app because it's just an app that's on the left-hand rail of Teams, as you see right here. So along with, I remember earlier when I mentioned when you add Teams phone to Teams, you get the calls icon. Now, if you have Teams Premium and you're enabled for the Q's app with the right policies in place, you get the Q's app. And you come in as an agent, and up on top, you'll see whatever queues that you are a part of. In this case, this user, Rita, is a part of 2 queues. And one significant benefit of the Q's app compared to before the Q's app is now you can come in and you can see real-time activity of what's going on. So as an agent, I come in here and I can see that there are 15 calls waiting in queue. So generally not a very good thing. And I can also see what my peers that are in that queue are up to. Are they on calls? Are they idle? Whatever else. And then generally you can get a sense looking over here on the unanswered calls, for example, as to what kind of day it is, a busy day. So this is great as an agent now because I can kind of pace myself in a case like this where I have 15 calls. I definitely want to go in right away, and I also want to probably reach out to some of my peers or my manager and let them know, hey, it's a pretty busy day. We need some help here. Or on the other hand, if there's no calls in queue, maybe I can wait. I can take a break. I can get some other work done. So it's a great benefit from an agent perspective.
Who gets to add people into the queue, Miguel? Is it the administrators or is it the supervisors? Who gets to add people in and out of this queue app?
Yeah, so that would be the administrators or someone that's a supervisor.
Got it. Okay.
So then as an agent, I can come in here. I can opt in. Now I've been opted into that queue. And then this right here is just basic Teams, right? Just like it works today with the auto attendant and call queues. A call comes in, I can take that call. If I need to send it over to maybe another agent or maybe another person in the company that can help that caller, I can just use my Teams functionality to take that call, and I can transfer it over to them. And then I'm coming back in. Now this feature that I'm going to show here, this one is one of these that we're working on. And this is a missed incoming call. And then you also see the other nice thing that we've added, which is a very highly requested feature for these missed calls, is there's a little flag in here of not resolved. So it lets me know as an agent and my peers know that, hey, I missed this call and it's not resolved. And then there's also voicemail tied to it, right? So I have the voicemail that's left, and now I have the speech to text here, so I can see what's going on. And I have that flag here. So now as an agent, I can come in here and I can resolve that once I call that person back and take care of their issue. So this is a future feature that we'll be adding on, but it's a highly requested one.
Excellent. Is there as a quick question? I mean, because it's hitting voicemail, let's just say, is there a routable or an option to route a call that's not being answered in a certain amount of time to back into the queue or to someone else in the queue?
Yeah, that's functionality that exists today. So within your call queues, you can have different triggers for a certain number of calls that you've hit, and then sending that over to another queue or to external destination, or if someone has been in a queue for a certain amount of time, then you can have it triggered to send somewhere else. That's actually a very popular feature that I've seen customers take advantage of. So they'll have layered queues. So the first queue would be like the regular employees that you want to take those calls. But then if there's too many callers or if callers have been waiting for too long, it overflows into a second queue that has those same callers or those same agents plus other resources. It could be maybe managers, or it could be other folks that normally don't handle calls, but hey, we're in a pinch and we need extra help.
Excellent. That's good. The layered queues is such a good thing. I mean, because you can you've got timers for the different queues, and you can do different things. Give them options at the end of those queue timers, right? So, and they can be different options based on every layer there. So that's cool that it can do that. Okay, all right, let's keep on going.
Absolutely. And by the way, you don't even need Queues app for that. That's just regular call queue functionality that's standard in the product.
Built into Teams. Love it.
Yep. So if I want to call this person back, now I can call here, and when I place a call, just like you have today, you can place a call on behalf of a call queue. That way the person that you're calling sees that caller ID of the call queue, not some individual agent. So it could be the identity of a company or department or whatever else. So that's the call for us there, and then at the end I can opt out. And that's my agent view of things. So let me show you the supervisor view.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you, I mean, as an agent, I've got, and actually you're probably going to hit it on the supervisor. There's feature, is it Barge or Whisper or?
Actually, I'm going to hit that on this demo. So you'll get to see that. That's another one of the features that will be coming a little bit later. So that one was covered in the announcement blog, and that one will be coming a little bit later.
Okay, very good.
So, by the way, the agent and supervisor are generally the same thing. The only real difference between an agent and supervisor is just the policies that are assigned to, the permission that are assigned to that person. But the supervisor can take calls if they desire as well. That's a very common scenario. So one thing I can do, so I've logged in here as a supervisor, and you can tell it looks almost exactly the same as before. One difference that I get as a supervisor, again, that's policy driven, is I can see my agents here. I can see those that are opted in, and I can see folks that are opted out. And as a supervisor, I have the option to hover over an agent that is opted out, and if I want to opt them in, if I need help, right?
Right.
Generally, you'd send that person an IM, or if they're in the same room with you, you let them know, hey, we need some help. I'm going to opt you in, but I have that power to do that remotely as a supervisor.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I think we see all the time. People that don't need the heavy contact center, they move to Teams Phone. We get them all set up, and that's probably one of the top 5 questions we get asked. Hey, can I get my agents in and out of the queues? And obviously now you're presenting this, and this is kind of what we've been waiting for as we talk to our customers. Like, hey, we know something's coming. In fact, we early on, Microsoft had kind of pushed it out to the TAP program, which we're a part of, and it was like, oh, this is sweet. Not necessarily the Queues app itself, but the settings in the TAC that enabled this stuff. Things like for Barge and Whisper, which I think you're going to touch on. Got really excited, and then it disappeared.
Yeah. It was funny though. That was one of these cases where we let the documentation slip out long before it was available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do remember that. I'll tell you what's interesting, Brandon. This is going to be better for the way that I take calls, because Miguel, I get a lot of calls, and what I do is I just sneakily make Brandon a delegate for me. Yeah. And he starts getting a call, and he's like, "What's going on?"
And then I don't answer, so your abandon rate's really bad.
Yeah,
it's gonna be much better.
It's interesting talking about that, right? That's one functionality of Teams Phone that has gotten really better over the last couple of years. So as a delegate now, you have visibility into those calls, and you can even barge in. So that functionality is available today for delegates. So you can see the calls, and you can barge in if the other person has taken it for you.
And that's such a good feature, the bargain piece, right? And it's a really good feature, because if you do have a delegate, and a delegate either makes a phone call on your behalf, or a delegate takes a call on your behalf, and then you want to take that call or take that call back, or hop into that call and go advise on something and go, thank you, and then exit. So it's such a good feature, the barge capabilities in the delegates. Delegates is probably one of the most I'm going to call it a sexy feature. It's a real sexy feature. People, when we explain to them how it works, they go, "Oh, well, that's interesting," because that's something that they didn't take advantage of typically. And maybe it was prevalent in the old key system days, right? That was a big thing when you could, just hit a button and go, Paul or something, and talk to somebody. But it's really nice to have it in a more sophisticated sort of setting here in Teams, and be able to co-work together, right, on a discussion. So it's a pretty cool feature. I like it.
Yeah, one comment on that, and I know we're off topic a little bit here, but on that delegate, the thing I like about it is it is you could say at the base it's your traditional shared line appearance, but what I like about what Teams has done with it is they've almost created it as a persona in the app. So now if I can be, if I'm delegated for Rick, I can hit that tab that says Rick in my client, and I kind of take over his persona. I can't do I can't do everything as Rick, but I can kind of take over his persona, and it makes me realize, okay, I'm working inside of Rick's calling environment. So it's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah. And exactly what it was meant for, that, like, admin boss scenario, or, peer scenario, where there's two folks that are, serving the same functions or helping the same customers, and you want to like back each other up. It's a great feature for that.
Law firms, if you're listening, right? It's legal assistant and lawyers. Like, this is the most common deployment for us from a delegate perspective is in the legal field. And it's not the small law firms that are doing this. It's, you've got 1,000 lawyers, and you got, 1,500 legal assistants that you got to go sync up. And it's a pretty heavy deployment. But anyway, pretty fun. Okay, what's next, Miguel? What else do you have? Cool.
Well, let's jump back into the supervisor, because this gets into the question you asked earlier about the monitor, whisper, barge. So there's varying levels of functionality. So the way this will be implemented, and this one again is coming a little bit later. It was in the public announcement, but it's caveated there that we're going to be shipping this one a little bit later after GA. So as a supervisor now, I can see my agents that are opted in, and then I have the three little dots here. And when I click over that, you can see the option to opt them out. You can call them, or you can monitor them. So if I hit monitor, now this will bring up a little box over here, and I'm monitoring. And then I have another option. When you're monitoring, you're just listening to what's going on. You have the option now to whisper, which is you're talking to that agent, you're like coaching them, but the caller they're talking to has no idea that that's going on. So great use case for training scenarios, coaching scenarios, and things like that that customers are really going to love.
I need that for Rick. So when
that's awesome.
Customers, I can whisper in Rick. We don't sell that.
Yeah, and I'll continue to ignore that. Going, we can build this. Of course we can. That's great. That's a great feature. The whisper is particularly good, right? The training piece of it. If you really want to kind of help someone with this, it's what a great feature that is. That's exciting.
Yep. So that'll be a whisper. It's not in the demo here, but you have the two more steps. You can go here. You can do barge after that, and then in a very bad situation where you as a supervisor need to take over a call, that's the last option in that escalation. Something has gone really wrong, and as a supervisor, you just want to take over that call and not have the agent be active.
Yeah.
So that's a little drop down here. So after I'm coaching them, I have the option to barge, and if you click this down, take over is the other option.
Maybe go quick question on statistics. I mean, you've got some basic statistics up on top there, right? The waiting calls. Are there other sort of small, canned reports that you can pull out of this?
Yeah. So that brings us to our next part here. So if you've been seeing this both from the agent side and supervisor that I show, this is all like real time here. This is like within a few seconds of what's going on. The other thing that we've done here is there's an analytics tab that once you go into that, you can then switch back and forth between real time and historical. So real time is the same kind of information that we've been looking at, but now what you've expanded here is we've just been focused on agents and queues. You also get auto attendants, and these are policy based. So you have the option of providing whatever level of access that you'd like there. And you have it on both a real-time perspective, and you can also do a historical perspective. And then also the other option that you have here is the export capabilities. So the historical piece of it was actually there from before, that's existed, but it used to be a separate, or it still is. It's a Power BI template. So you have to download that, and it's a separate application. The beautiful thing about the Qs app now is this all gets folded into it, and as a supervisor, you can have it all within a few clicks. You can do your exports here, and you have it all in one place.
I love that. That's fantastic. What a huge improvement. We've got the templates for the Power BI, auto attendant stats and queue stats, right? So you've got the templates, but again, it's a different application, right? You pop over to Power BI, having it included in the Teams interface right here is so powerful for management of organizations, even for the agents. Having it built right in here. And then the historical, I love the way you separate the real time from historical, because you need the real time as you're doing the job, but when you're reporting on what the job was, right? When you're reporting on the statistics, you need to go back a certain duration and go, here are the stats for this week, this month, this day, today. So having it right there at your fingertips in the app is pretty cool. Man, that's really cool. I love it. Question on the licensing, Miguel. Mm-hmm. Does every agent need Teams Premium, or is that how that works? What's the licensing look like for the Qs app?
Yeah, so the licensing is Teams Premium based. Any agent or supervisor that needs the Qs app functionality, or that delegation for being able to modify the more advanced settings for auto attendant and call queues, needs the licensing. But the nice thing is you can have a mix of agents serving a call queue, and some can be licensed, some don't have to be licensed. So it's great for scenarios like I mentioned earlier, where you might have a certain time of year where you get real busy and you bring in additional folks to help you out. You could have your regular agents just licensed if you want to save a little bit of money, and then you could have other agents that join that queue and help take those calls, and they don't have to be licensed. They just don't get the Qs app interface, so they don't get the real-time view of it.
So they can be part of the queue. So let's talk about that layered queue scenario that we just talked about. So you got your real, your normal sort of contact center agents, they're taking the calls, and then maybe that rolls out to, management level for the next queue as an example, and or not even management level, but another group of people, because you bring in a wider audience to help take that call if they spent some time in this queue. And those people don't have to be licensed. They're just helping take calls in that queue because there's maybe overflow as an example, and they don't need Teams Premium or the queue. Do they need, or the Qs app? They can just take the call out of the queue. Is that correct?
Yeah. You could have a series of folks that just take those calls out of the standard call queues like they do today, and it could be the same queues as where you have licensed agents. So, and then also another common question is, can I just have the supervisor's license because I only need them to have the advanced functionality? And absolutely, yes, you could just have supervisors license for it.
Oh man, that's cool.
And let's maybe, I say let's, for me and the listeners, maybe we can clarify the licensing aspect. So when you say licensing, it's the Teams Premium license, which is, I think, the list rate is like $10 a month add-on. But just to be clear, there's no additional licensing required to get the Qs app, right? You're paying the $10 and that gives you access to the Qs app. Is that a true statement?
Correct. It's Teams Phone and then the Teams Premium that gives you the Qs app plus everything else in Teams Premium, which is a
which is
a whole ton of other stuff.
Yeah. And that's huge for that $10. And I don't remember, Miguel, if you were sitting at the table with us in Denver while we were talking about the advantage of this $10, about what all it gives the company or the entity for that $10 add-on. Because, some companies might think, man, $10 is a lot if I just want to get access to this app. To your point, there's all this other stuff that it comes with. But then when you look at it in the general scheme of, hey, you need some contact center functionality and Teams by itself isn't enough, try to go find any other contact center that's going to sell you a $10 seat for these features.
Oh, it's like $100, right? So you're looking at, like $75 to $100 for a seat for any sort of advanced Teams, advanced contact center functionality. And by advanced, I'm not talking about sort of, skills-based routing or anything like that. We're talking about, queues. We're talking about some analytics. We're talking about, management and whispering and the stats. Those are all. I think it addresses a large part of the market for customers that are operating smaller contact centers, or maybe not even contact centers, but just looking for statistics. How their normal sort of business operates. Maybe it's a department or something like that, right? So this is great for $10 uplift. That's pretty exciting. And since we're talking about Teams Premium, I saw Microsoft's announcement for the quarter that I think was it 3 million subscribers now. Teams Premium has gone above 3 million. That's fantastic. What are some of the big wins? Now, Brandon and I both, as just a disclaimer here, Brandon and I both have Teams Premium. We know it's in Teams Premium, but Miguel, tell us, what are some of the big popular features in Teams Premium? Because we think it's pretty cool, but what are some of the cool things that you can do in Teams Premium that you see organizations take down?
Yeah, so I actually worked on a program we had last fiscal year to drive Teams Premium adoption. And before we wrap up, I want to make sure I want to touch on some adoption material and the whole portal we have there. But out of the Teams Premium bucket, the most popular things that I've seen have been the branding. So the ability to brand your team meetings, and that join screen and the colors and the logos and all that behind it, and then also the managed background images, so that for a whole company you could have the whole company or either groups of folks that have these background images that represent like the company or different programs or their departments, and then you could control those centrally and update them over time as well.
I think that
has been one of the more popular ones.
Those are great. Both those, Brandon and I really the screen where you join, right? Having a branded join screen, particularly for groups like sales, right? Yep. Where you can create a background that's exciting for someone to join, right? So that's pretty cool, where you can kind of customize what that looks like, not just logos, but really images. Here's your images, here's something to look forward to. Hang on the line while we bring you on, right? So I think that, and I run marketing and product, Miguel. So I think about things, from a sales perspective. Brandon knows I'm always thinking about how do we drive opportunities, and so that's pretty cool. And then the background images, why is that important? My opinion here, and I think I either read it somewhere and I just concurred, so necessarily it's not my own opinion, but I thought I adopted it. Having a unified back screen where everyone is the same, because I've got a pick, here's my front yard. Okay, there's big trees and houses and all kinds of cool stuff, right? But some people may not have a view like that, as an example, right? And if you're a video first organization, and we are, Miguel, I say, if I can't see you, I can't hear you. So we're a video first organization, and so you look at that and you go, if everyone was the same, then there's no big houses back there. There's no apartment bedroom, right? There's no differences between your team members, right? You're one unified organization, and I think everyone feels safe, and everyone feels like, hey, we're just here to do our job. They're not concerned about, what's back here, if you're picking up some stuff or whatever it may be. So having a unified branded background that you can enforce is a bad word, but you can kind of systemize. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's very useful for organizations to present that unified brand. So those are multiple features. And then any other ones that you like, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, for me, just because I recently went through a arduous legal process around a certain product we're releasing, the ability to watermark your videos to help protect the, whether it's proprietary or confidential, you can start to put a watermark all over it, and you can kind of pick your pattern. So I think it's just designed to discourage people from redistributing that, because it kind of makes them they become their own, they expose themselves as the culprit at that point. So I really like that feature. I don't use it a ton, but I think where it comes into play is going to probably be definitely in the law office arena, law firms.
Well, exactly what you used it for, right? And just so we're clear here, we weren't sued or anything like that. We're talking about filing for patent, right? So Miguel, we're patent pending now, Miguel, on our Momentum Teams fax app that Brandon's.
I wasn't going to say it, but yeah.
It's a little self promotion is okay, just a little bit, but it's pretty cool because it just drops a fax right into SharePoint or OneDrive, right? There's no email, it's not eFax at all. It is purely headed right into your Teams environment, either in a channel or as a user. Yeah. So that's pretty exciting. People still use faxing, Miguel, just in case you didn't know that, Miguel.
I know, I hear about it. But you both brought up great points. So Brandon, like on the watermarks, that's something that we ran into with the adoption program that I was working on last year. So one thing that we saw a couple of the customers do is after they went through like their first adoption cycles on Teams Premium, then they went back in and started to look at personas, and they started to talk to legal and HR, places that have like highly confidential information, and then promote those features and make sure, hey, I just want to know this technology is available for like your confidential meetings. And then Rick, to your point on the backgrounds and the comment about enforcement, that is like the beautiful thing, and it didn't come all at once. This was something that rolled out in different features last year, but you have the capability. Like Microsoft is pretty free in that. Like in my Teams client, there are some backgrounds that are pushed, but we can add our own and customize and everything else. Some companies want you to have like just a set of backgrounds that you can choose from, but you can't add your own. That's something you can do by policy on Teams, so the admin can take care of that. You can also get you can also get more strict from a security perspective. So think of an environment where you might be in an office and behind you might be like some sensitive information or folks you don't want to see. You can force users to use either a background, or if they don't use a background, it'll automatically blur their screen, their background based on policy. So that's something that goes along with the branding piece of it, to add a security layer on top of it.
Yep. No, that's very cool.
I think the important thing there is knowing that there's flexibility, because there's always that fine balance that the enterprise has to play of, hey, we want to make sure that we either make our employees, this inclusivity, right? Like there's none of this, wow, Rick, you look like you're in a very well-to-do neighborhood, and I might not be in a well-to-do neighborhood. Or there's my bed behind me. We've probably all seen people on camera where it's like, well, okay, you're sitting on your bed. But, I think the enterprises also, their challenge is, hey, let's not just force it on them. Let's give people as much choice as possible. And that's what I can appreciate about how Microsoft has approached these premium features is, hey, we can maybe say you have to use our branded backgrounds, but still give you a choice. Or to your point, Miguel, maybe there are times where you need to blur the background. So I appreciate that.
And the fact you can do that by different groups in the organization. So that's a lot of flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Miguel, we've talked about, Teams Phone. We've talked about sort of some deployment stuff. We did the Qs app demo, which was fantastic, by the way. Thank you. And then Teams Premium, we've talked about Teams Premium a bit. I'm curious, just in what you've seen, I mean, because you're part of this, kind of this group of 7 globally that, you help the helpers, you help, these big organizations. What's been your favorite sort of, not deployment, but what's something that you think is really cool? You're like, man, we did that. That's pretty awesome. Like what has a company taken advantage of, by adopting Teams Phone and done something really creative that you've been a part of, where you go, man, that's really a perfect fit for these guys. That was a fun project.
Yeah. So I've had a couple that come to mind. Actually, my favorite projects have been the ones that really go quietly. So I've
spoken like an engineer.
Yeah, I've worked with several large customers that have like, one of them was only using the chat and a little bit of SharePoint with channels and Teams, and then they did meetings, and then they were so happy that they realized, hey, we have this like old Avaya out here, and it's getting old, and we need to look at other options, and this thing went so great that now they started to consider phones. So that was great to see, and those have been the most rewarding, because it's nice to see a customer go through those stages where they're interested. They ask a lot of questions. They do their POCs, and they start to deploy, and this is a smooth deployment, and you're getting great feedback from end users. They're doing all their surveys as part of their adoption and change management and all that good stuff. So those have been my favorite. There's a couple interesting ones that I'm working on now, and I think this is like a very unpublicized functionality that we have, and that's with Azure Communication Services. So with Azure Communication Services, there's a Teams interop feature where you can, using that identity of the Teams user, you can embed that functionality into like a business application, whether it's a desktop or a mobile. So working with a couple customers that are looking at that now and integrating that into their business applications. And I think that's going to keep growing over time. I think we need to promote that more. And that ACS team has been adding functionality over the last couple of years. Things like reactions in team meetings and things like that. There's PSTN functionality within that, so you can make phone calls, receive phone calls. So I think we're going to see more of that in the future.
That's an interesting topic, because ACS, in my humble opinion here, it's underutilized right now in what it could potentially mean to this entire communications ecosystem. And what I mean by that is Brandon and I are big believers in web communications, right? Or a customer's journey. If you think about a customer's journey, I'd love to ask your question, actually. Where do you think, and I'm not even going to give you like the hints here that I normally give, where do you think a customer's journey starts? If you think about, and let's take either, not necessarily wealth management, let's just take retail, or let's take some sort of, kind of mid-market sort of a business. Where does that journey start from the customer to the business? Where do you think that journey starts?
Yeah, I think it's normally on a website, whether they're on normally a mobile device, maybe a web browser, right?
Yes. Okay. It's on the website. It's exactly what I think. It's like, because I'll go Bing a location, right? And I really don't. But anyway, so you go search for a business, right? And you're like, I need some tires. Who changes Porsche tires? It's like, okay, let me find that business, or Volkswagen, whatever. Who changes the tires? And you find that business. And this is where I feel like ACS could be really impactful in the marketplace, right? If you have 320 million people using Teams, right, and you've got simple applications that could be, web chat, that aren't necessarily tied to a platform, just to Teams. And what's interesting about what you said is, having your persona identified in built into it. So you could theoretically go, okay, I'm going to talk to the support department, here at the Volkswagen or Porsche place or whatever, and you click a button, and you're just talking to the Porsche place. You're talking to the department you need to talk to, right? Whether that's a phone call, whether it's a chat, whether it's a video call, all those components are components available in ACS. And so I think that's a pretty underutilized feature today because there's not as massive adoption on the web stuff just yet. But people are moving towards chat, right? So it's like that's the predominant sort of feature. You go, the calls are first still, right? Followed by, I think email is the second, and then you've got chat as a third. But chat is, as the sort of the age group kind of comes up that has been used to mobile and chat and things, that's more and more sort of what we're seeing from an engagement channel. So ACS, I think, is going to be huge in the next 5 years, but it's very underutilized right now. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I'm glad you brought that one up because we can tie that back to the Qs app. So, I mentioned the Teams interop side of the ACS, and that's where you're taking that persona on of a Teams user, like a corporate user. But to that use case that you spoke about of being on a website and being able to reach that business, that's something that, again, we don't publicize a lot for I don't know, whatever reason. But that functionality, so we announced that like 2 years ago at Enterprise Connect, and then it took us like a year for it to come out. But that's available today. So I can put a widget on a website, and I can click to call and call into an auto attendant or a call queue or a Teams user. A call queue makes like perfect sense there. I'm not even touching the PSTN. And also, once I connect to a user in Teams, I'm distributed off of that call queue. I not only get voice, I can get video if I want to, and I can even do content sharing. So that's one of these things that there's a perception that the auto attendant and call queues are voice only, but that's one use case that expands beyond that. You can actually get video once you connect to the agent that you're talking about.
Brandon, we got to get hopping, Brandon.
I
what I'm talking about. We got to get moving.
I was going to respond to your question as well, Rick, on the that adoption. I think the big enterprises where they have their in-house development shops or they're partnered with developers, I think you're going to see them adopt that probably pretty quickly compared to the mid-market. I think where the mid-market is going to adopt it is with partners like ISVs that develop the widgets and the foundation to, hey, customer, just go plug this in. This is how it works. And it's kind of a turnkey solution, which then, Miguel, I'm going to pivot back to the Qs app for a second, because as we're talking about that, it makes me wonder about the roadmap, and maybe you can't share, maybe you don't know, but I kind of start to wonder, does the Qs app one day support a queue-based chat or a group-based chat where now I've got my queue of agents and now I'm bringing that voice traffic, video traffic, content sharing through the website to maybe the agents in the queue app? But what about maybe we want to start with a chat? Do you see that coming? And I'm not putting you, not holding you to the feet to the fire on that one. It's just an idea.
I could see chat as a technical possibility there, because all the components are there. Now, one thing we have communicated is we don't intend for the Qs app to become like this,
big omnichannel
enterprise level contact center that matches, the functionality that you see out there with many of the ISVs or with Dynamics. So it's not going to be this, big omni-channel thing that's going to support, email and chat and, Apple Business Chat and different like proficiency level of agents and fax and all these other things. So that's definitely not our direction there. But I could definitely see chat as a technical possibility one day.
Here's what I like. I like that Microsoft is a platform. Like, it is a platform. Like, first and foremost, the phone system is a platform. You've got to go configure it. Just like if you had the old school VARs that are delivering the NECs and the ShoreTels of the world, right? They're delivered a platform. It's a software package, and they go and they configure it based on what the customer is looking for. And this is no different to me in that you've got a platform in Teams Phone, you've got a platform in ACS, you've got a platform now that there's a bit more from an ACS perspective because a bit development sort of need some development work on that versus just configuration, right? But all the components are just configuration components, and that's you look at that. What I like is that it creates a business opportunity for partners and ISVs and those individuals. Because there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of, customization that needs to happen in organizations, and even the smallest ones, there's lots of work to go kind of get these guys up to speed and get them all set for adoption. So I love that it's a platform and it creates opportunity for organizations.
So I think we've pretty much hit the top of the hour, Miguel. I don't know if you wanted to maybe just quickly share some of the resource links that you have, and we can make them available in the chat. But maybe we just spend 2 or 3 minutes. We can throw your screen back up if you want, and
let's do that.
So walk us through this.
Awesome. So there's a couple of sites out there that I wanted to point out. So just starting off at the top, there's a Teams adoption portal, and off of that you can branch into some of the different portals. So if you're gonna keep one, keep the link to the main one, and what this will give you is content that you can use to get started, to engage, to provide training materials for your organization and your users, to guidance in building those community of champions, which is a big thing in the adoption and change management space. And then a bunch of different guidance depending on different personas, frontline workers, different industries, and things like that. So there's a ton of resources available out there. There's another sub portal that's just for Teams Phone. So once you get beyond the chat and collaboration and all that, so there's adoption guides out here, training videos, help desk guides for when you have those calls for additional help from the end users. You have getting started guides for different personas that customers can then take and customize. Different poster templates and email templates just for that communication and making users available of the functionality and changes. And then you have another site that is focused on Teams Premium. And this is great. You have a whole adoption kit here that triggers a PowerPoint download. And that's got personas in there. It's got sample messaging for emails or for short messages that you put out there as part of your IT newsletters and all that good stuff. And then the most popular of this has been I skipped it over here, this how-to videos to get you started. So for all of the Teams Premium type of functionality, there's about a 1-minute video for each one. And that video, at the same time that it talks about the feature and what the benefits are, it's showing the user how to use it on their client. So this has been great in terms of getting adoption of Teams Premium and helping our customers communicate that to their end users.
Man, that's awesome. I love the Teams Phone. If you go back to those guides for just a minute, Miguel, because all I'm thinking about is I'm going to go create a Copilot Studios sort of a knowledge base and dump everything into that and stick it in a Teams channel for have a question on Teams Phone. Here you go, boom, done.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. This is great. I'm excited. If you're listening right now, the links are posted in our chat. You need to click the links. If you're even thinking about Teams Phone, highlight these things, star it, bookmark it, whatever it may be. But these are super valuable. We're in this Teams stuff all day long, every day, and this is the first I see of this, Miguel. And I think this is so cool because sharing what you can do in the platform is one of our primary jobs, right? And this is just a great way to share and have it be a complete sort of a complete solution like that and easy to absorb. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing this. This is great.
Last question. That Q's demo, is that something customers can be directed to so they can kind of go through it at their own pace, or is that something that only you can present?
Let me check on that for you, and I'll let you know. I will let you know we are working on like those videos that I showed on the Team Screening Adoption Portal. We are working on similar videos that'll be adoption for the Q's app, and they'll have different perspectives from like the agents and the supervisors. So I think those will be very welcomed by the community.
Awesome.
That's great. Miguel, that's a wrap there, buddy. Thank you very much for joining us on episode 69, Miguel. This has been just really cool. I love this sort of how-to stuff. I love the walking through the Q's app and just talking about sort of the nuts and bolts of what's available to customers out there and how you are helping organizations adopt Microsoft Teams Phone in the big organizations and helping that your customer success managers do the same thing. So that's fantastic. Miguel, thank you for taking this time out with us. Not tomorrow, but next episode. It's a big one, Miguel. It's episode 70. And episode 70, we've been waiting for this dynamic duo to be on our show for a while. And Daryl Hunter and Mary Beth, you know you're out there. And we are excited to have you guys both join the show together. Daryl plays a little bit of guitar, so we may have a guitar off on the show.
I think we should do a quiz off, put them against each other, and see. All right, which one of you?
Who can we stump?
Yeah, who's the strongest?
Who can we stump? There you go. That's great. Anyway, that's going to be episode 70. So you want to be with us next Friday for Everything Teams Phone Live, episode 70. This one's a wrap, episode 69. Miguel, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We will catch you later.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick and Brandon. Pleasure and great conversation.
Yep.
Excellent.